So my name's Cathy Harrison. I'm one of the haemophilia nurses at Sheffield Adults Haemophilia and Thrombosis Centre. I've worked with the team in Sheffield for 12 years, initially as a sister and then progressed up through banding to an advanced nurse practitioner. I'm very passionate about the role of the nurse within the MDT. And I think that passion has really brought me into things away from local practice. So I've worked with the HNA committee now for 6 years and joined the board of trustees with HNA 3 years ago. And I think that has opened doors to seeing a lot more around the UK and within Europe about care and haemophilia, which has been fantastic and has been a great opportunity. And I think hopefully will aid me to progress nursing in the UK as part of my role as the new chair of the HNA. So the editorial that I wrote last year about how haemophilia care occurs worldwide and about who should lead haemophilia care was based on looking at some recommendations that have been made in the States about how care for haemophilia should be provided. And what it got me thinking about was actually who does that care and who's there on the shop floor, who's that first point of contact for patients with bleeding disorders. And it very much felt like, as nurses, although we play a really important role, nobody really is that sure what we do, and it felt like a really important thing to recognise those things that we do and how valuable they are to that patient pathway. So what it did was it perhaps sent me on a bit of a passionate rant about who should and could lead haemophilia care in the future. And I've certainly been very lucky in Sheffield working with Professor Macris, who's very pro-nursing, and that has enabled me to feel empowered to recognise that actually, as a nurse, I could lead haemophilia care within a centre, and also going on the Aspire course that HNA run, actually recognising that you don't have to be managing something to be a leader within that arena as well. And I think it's a really important message for nurses out there that one, they don't have to be a manager, but two, that they have all of this at their feet that they could just grab and run with. I think if you removed nurses, or specialist nurses in particular, from the role or the pathway of the patients, there wouldn't be that same coordinated approach to care. And I think what nurses need to recognise is that that role's really important. So what would happen if you removed the nurses from haemophilia practice? And I think that's a really important take home for nurses to think, actually, if you remove me from that team, who would do all the things that I do? And who would know to do the things that I do, and who to go to and who to ring? And actually, would the patients feel safe if you removed us from that role? And I think that's a really important message, because one of our consultants some time ago said to me, I know you're really important, I'm not really sure what you do. And I think to recognise all this, and I think particularly the coordination of care is absolutely vital in a safe pathway for people with chronic health conditions, and it has been well recognised that it's a requirement and a necessity for individuals to have a point of contact, to have that consistent approach. And I think the nurses within the team provide that. I think firstly it's quite daunting following Kate as chair. Kate has done such amazing things for haemophilia nursing and for patients worldwide with haemophilia. And I think I feel very lucky to have worked in an era where she's come up through haemophilia nursing and has helped empower nurses to progress and recognise that they can take on more advanced roles and progress their practice. And personally, I feel that now we've achieved a more advanced practice role. I think what's important is to recognise that role within the team, about how vital it is, and also about how we can work with the rest of the multidisciplinary team. And I think going forward as the HNA, I think that needs to be one of our major roles, and recognising that as nurses we don't work in silos, but neither do our medical professional colleagues or our physiotherapists, and that we are very much a team. And I think it's time that actually we recognise that a little bit more, both on a national and an international scale, that we work together on things, not just in practice, because in practice we do it every day, but actually we do that in meetings, and we do that in education, and we do that in working parties, that nurses actually take a lead in putting together working parties and changing practice and influencing practice and collecting evidence for why things occur. I hope going forward that in a year's time we'll have a much more collaborative approach to education within the UK and hopefully within Europe. And I think Aspire and the courses, the contemporary care course that HMNet run, I think they've started that process, and I think what it would be nice to do is build on that and bring in other members of the multidisciplinary team into that process to take things forward. And I hope over the next year those things will happen. And I think the Competency Framework Roadshow will start that process, and hopefully it'll continue, and by starting it, and it'll then progress naturally, because I think by doing things in everyday practice, it'll be actually very natural to do that in education as well. And I think it's important when we look further afield than the UK about their opportunities for education in haemophilia, that actually we can learn a lot from our colleagues outside of the UK, and hopefully by bringing them in with us in that process, that actually it makes it a stronger process as well, really. So one of the important roles for haemophilia nurses, I think, is raising awareness about the disease pathways and about our patients' journeys. And the contaminated blood inquiry, now launching in the UK, I think will bring up a lot of history about treatment in the UK. And I think it's important that we recognise as nurses that we will be key in that process about supporting the patients and families going through all of that. The work that we've already done with the EIBSS team and writing with our issues about the inequality of the process for application recently for financial support and compensation. And I think as nurses, being on the front line with our patients, we see what those issues are, and it's important for us to be that voice, to raise awareness and to provide that support for our patients and their families. And I think not just that in supporting them with that part of history, but also about disease pathways, about getting that voice out there. World Haemophilia Day, making a lot of noise. These people with bleeding disorders are here, they live normal-ish lives, but they're going to live to a ripe old age. So we should be educating other nurses, other healthcare professionals about that pathway, because they could be seeing more and more people with bleeding disorders, and I think it's really important that they recognise that that's part of their everyday care. It is not something specialist that only one person can do. It should be across the board, just the same as diabetes and heart disease. They should know how to deal with somebody with a bleeding disorder. It's very important as nurses within this field in particular thinking about innovative therapies as well going forward, that haemophilia may not be haemophilia as we think of it today, and it's essential that we play a key role in educating healthcare professionals across the board, just in the same way as diabetes and heart disease are managed, is that every nurse that works on wards and in community recognises the signs of a bleed, recognises what treatment somebody needs, and actually it isn't a big deal, and that patients feel safe wherever they go within the healthcare system, because that's their right. With a chronic disease, they're going to be living until they're 80 or 90. Some will probably live a ripe old age, older than me. So I think it's really important that we play that role and that we get out there and our voice is heard on behalf of the patients.